We have just witnessed the single most catastrophic political collapse in the history of the United States, and I need you to stop everything you are doing and listen to me, because what just happened on the floor of the United States Senate is the absolute end of the Trump presidency. 2 minutes ago, on live national television, the leadership of the Republican Party, the very men and women who have enabled, protected, and shielded Donald Trump for a decade publicly and furiously abandoned him. We are not talking about a leaked memo or a quiet rumor. We are talking about the Senate leadership standing at the podium and declaring that the President of the United States is a criminal liability who must be removed from office immediately. Donald Trump is currently in a state of absolute, unmitigated panic inside the White House because he just watched his political life support be unplugged by the only people left who could have saved him. You need to understand the magnitude of this betrayal. For years, Donald Trump has operated under the assumption that the Republican Senate was his personal firewall. He believed that no matter what crimes he committed, no matter how much money he stole, and no matter how many Americans he hurt, they would always vote to acquit. That assumption just died on live TV. The furious denunciation we just saw was not just a break in the ranks, it was a coordinated execution of his political career. The Senate leader cited the overwhelming evidence of the Venezuela coup, the undeniable proof of financial fraud, and the moral repugnance of the violence in Minneapolis as the reasons they can no longer stand with him. They effectively told the American people that the president is a traitor to his oath, and they are washing their hands of him. Let us be very clear about why Donald Trump is in panic mode right now. It is because he knows that without the Senate, he has no protection from the Department of Justice. He has no protection from the Southern District of New York. He has no protection from the International Criminal Court. The Senate was the only thing standing between him and a prison cell. And when those leaders walked away from the podium just moments ago, they took his freedom with them. We are hearing reports that the president is screaming at his television, demanding that his aides get the senators on the phone. But nobody is picking up. He is being ghosted by his own party. He is isolated, he is exposed, and he is terrified. However, we must look deeper at what triggered this sudden explosion of truth on the Senate floor. Why now? Why today? It is because of the arrest of his lawyer. It is because of the seizure of Trump Tower. The Republican leadership realized that the ship is not just sinking, it is already at the bottom of the ocean. They realized that if they continued to defend a man whose lawyer was handcuffed in front of a jury, they would lose their own seats. They would lose their own power. This is not an act of courage. It is an act of survival. They are cutting off the gangrenous limb to save the body of the party. But for Donald Trump, the result is the same total, complete abandonment. I want you to think about the ice war zone narrative that we have been exposing. The Senate leaders specifically mentioned the misuse of federal law enforcement in their statement. They finally admitted that Operation Metro Surge was a disaster. They finally admitted that the killing of Alex Preddy was a bridge too far. This is a massive vindication for every activist, every nurse, and every citizen who stood up in Minneapolis and said no. The pressure worked. The truth broke through. The Republican establishment looked at the polling, looked at the protests, and looked at the body count, and they decided that Donald Trump is simply too expensive to keep. The panic in the West Wing is also driven by the financial implications of this abandonment. Donald Trump knows that his fundraising depends on the perception of power. If the Senate abandons him, the donors abandon him. We are already seeing the mega donors pulling their support. They do not invest in losers. They do not invest in presidents who are about to be convicted. Donald Trump is facing a future where he is not only legally liable, but financially destitute. The grift requires a position of authority, and that authority just evaporated on live television. You have to appreciate the irony of this moment. Donald Trump demands absolute loyalty. He demands that everyone bend the knee. And yet, when the heat got too high, his most loyal lieutenants turned on him faster than Brutus turned on Caesar. It is a lesson in the nature of transactional power. Donald Trump has no friends. He only has accomplices. And when the police surround the building, the accomplices always turn state S evidence. The Senate leaders are effectively turning state S evidence against the president. They are providing the political cover for his removal. This development creates a retention hook that is absolutely critical what happens in the next 24 hours. With the Senate leadership against him, the impeachment trial becomes a formality. The vote count is no longer a question. The question is whether he resigns before they can convict him. The question is whether he tries to negotiate a pardon. The panic we are seeing is the panic of a man who is realizing he has zero leverage left. He cannot threaten them anymore. He cannot bully them anymore. He is a tiger with no teeth, and they are finally locking the cage. I need you to visualize a scene on the Senate floor again. The somber faces, the harsh words, the distinct lack of defense. Usually, when a leader attacks the president, a dozen others rush to the microphones to defend him. Today, silence. Absolute silence from the Trump loyalists. They were nowhere to be found. They are hiding in their offices, checking their own legal exposure. They know that the era of Trump is over, and they are terrified of being the last one holding the bag. The implications for the Venezuela connection are also profound. The Senate leaders alluded to classified intelligence that made their continued support impossible. This confirms everything we have been telling you. It confirms that the coup was real. It confirms that the financial ties were real. It confirms that the president sold out American foreign policy for personal gain. The Senate has seen the proof, and it scared them straight. They realize that this is not just corruption, it is treason, and they do not want to be accomplices to treason. Donald Trump faces arrest, seizure of assets, and now political exile. It is the trifecta of doom. The walls are closing in from every single direction. The judiciary has turned on him, the military has turned on him, and now the legislature has turned on him. The system of checks and balances, which he tried so hard to destroy, is finally snapping back into place. It is a painful process, but it is working. The Constitution is proving to be stronger than the ego of one narcissist. But we must not let the Republicans rewrite history. They will try to say that they led the charge against corruption. Do not believe them. They are the ones who let it get this far. They are the ones who acquitted him twice before. They are the ones who cheered for the Metro surge until it became a PR nightmare. We welcome their vote to convict, but we do not accept their revisionist history. They are not heroes. They are cowards who finally ran out of places to hide. The panic is real because Donald Trump knows what comes next. Without the office, he is just a citizen with millions of dollars in debt, dozens of criminal indictments, and enemies in every corner of the globe. He is looking at a future that is bleak, cold, and lonely, and he is realizing that he did this to himself. He pushed too far, he grabbed too much, he thought he was untouchable. And today, on live TV, he found out just how touchable he really is. We are watching the end of a nightmare. The fever is breaking. The Senate has finally done its job. Years too late, but they have done it. We must stay focused on the finish line. We need the conviction. We need the removal. And then we need the criminal trial. Do not let up. Do not get complacent. The beast is wounded and he is panicking, but we must make sure he never holds power again. This is a victory for the people. It is a victory for the truth. It is a victory for everyone who refused to be gaslighted by this administration. The Senate leaders did not abandon him because they wanted to. They abandoned him because you made it impossible for them to stay. Your protests, your calls, your outrage is what caused the panic. That is what caused the collapse. So take a moment to breathe it in. The sight of Mitch McConnell and the GOP leadership turning their backs on Donald Trump is the image of the year. It is the signal that the spell is broken, the king is naked, and the panic in the White House is the sound of justice finally coming home. We will see this through. We will watch him leave, and we will rebuild this country together. The panic is his. The future is ours.